You are listening to Beyond the Veil
with Chris and Sherry Geo
on iHeart
T-minus 60 seconds and counting.
Welcome, fellow traveler, to phase 3 of this journey. Here you will experience an even deeper level of understanding as we traverse through the boundaries of hyperspace consciousness. Here, you will find that reality is altered with a single thought and a single intention. Set your intention now and prepare to travel deeper. Beyond the veil.
All right, hour number 3, let's change gears. We've got Mark Sargent on, commercial free, and we were supposed to have him on second and third hour of the broadcast. Obviously, broadcast time was cut short, and we got into it very deep with Mr. Kev Baker. So let's dedicate this next hour to really breaking down the fabric of reality and all things that exist inside and outside of this flat Earth. An article in the Denver Post just came out yesterday, as a matter of fact, that says every Tuesday at 6 p.m., 3 dozen Coloradans from every corner of the state assemble in a windowless back room of a small Fort Collins coffee shop. They have met 16 times since March, most nights talking through the ins and outs of their shared faith until the owners kick them out at closing. They have no leaders, no formal hierarchy, and no enforced ideology, save a common quest for answers to questions about the stars. Their membership has slowly swelled in the past 3 years, though persecution and widespread public ridicule keep them mostly underground. Many pseudonyms and many use pseudonyms and only give their first names. And this is the Flat Earth Meetup Group in Colorado. But what is amazing here is that Flat Earth is being talked about in many different areas. They even mentioned Globebusters channel here. They mentioned Mark Sargent, 2 million views and 135 videos on the Globebuster channel. Really, Flat Earth is really taking off. I mean, you look at all these channels and they're growing and growing and growing and growing on YouTube, which tells me that this is what the people want. They're starting to question the very foundation of reality. Mark Sargent was the first Flat Earth channel, Flat Earth channel that I looked at, and I watched Flat Earth Clues, and that took me down this rabbit hole. And a rabbit hole that I still haven't been able to get myself out of. And I have just been unlocking one revelation after another, after another, after another. And as I've mentioned before, when I first came across this information and I told Cherie I wanted to have Mark on, she said, "You're not actually going to talk about this on the show, are you?" And sure enough, here we are several years later. We've got so many great Flat Earth shows here on Truth Frequency Radio. And the naysayers were all saying, "Oh, it's going to discredit us. It's going to do this. It's going to do that." But really, the only flack that we've received are from the naysayers. That's the only kind of friction that has been caused from this. And the opposite has been true about the Flat Earth community. I mean, it's grown TFR. It's opened up so many lines of perception for so many different people. Everybody approaches it with the exact same mindset, which is, oh, how ridiculous, the world is flat, a bunch of hogwash. And then they start looking into it and they say, oh, wait a minute, wow, there's actually some validity to this. And Mark was he came under ridicule at first by some of the people in the Flat Earth community because of his video game analogy and how things don't really have to make that much sense, like the sky, for example. If the sky is a digital projection over us, and they can do whatever they want with the sky, which answered some of the questions and anomalies, because there are one or two anomalies in the Flat Earth hypothesis, but it doesn't mean that it proves the globe, because there are like 6,050 million holes in the globe theory. So, you know, we don't have an exact explanation for everything, but he came under ridicule for some of the video game stuff. But then when I took that next level to that next step, which is artificial reality, then I said, oh, wait a minute. Mark knew this from the very beginning. He was totally on point, despite what the naysayers were saying, despite the ridicule. He was spot on with his analysis. And so I would herald him as the champion of the flat earth community, but some would disagree. It's a leaderless movement. It really is. But I really admire everything Mark Sargent is doing. So Mark, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, and thank you for that wonderful intro. And to be clear, yeah, it's a leaderless movement, but the Denver Post article mentions pretty early on in the article, it's like, oh yeah, Mark Sargent's the father of the new flat earth community. It's like, oh God. Seriously, that's what you can do? DITRH messaged me like almost immediately after that article. He goes, so should I be calling you father now? It's like, no, you shouldn't. But
I always thought of you more as like the pimp daddy of the flat earth.
Yeah, I get that. What's funny about the Denver Post thing is I had no idea that it was going to be the front page. They called me. And it was a younger reporter, you could tell, a closet flat earther guy. And we talked for a while. And then at the end, he goes, is there anything local? I go, yeah, actually, there's a thing up in Fort Collins. You can go up there. And then as soon as he scheduled that, the Denver ones, which were, really right next door to him, started firing up. So he goes up there and spends the evening with Globebusters and ODD. And then they go back up the next week and take pictures. Apparently, because I had heard rumor that it was like, okay, it was transferred to another reporter, and you know what that usually means. It's like, okay, they're going to kill this story. And I was like, all right, that's fine. I told not unexpected. And so I messaged him. What was today's Saturday? I messaged him Thursday, and I said, so are you killing the story? Just it'd be kind of nice to know because nobody here has heard anything. And he goes, no. In fact, it's going to run tomorrow morning. And I go, really? He goes, yeah. And then sure enough. Front page above the fold. It's like, really? That's what you're going to lead with? Because the comment section has just been just turned on fire as soon as that happened because a lot of newspaper readers are a skew older. So it was interesting, but I enjoyed it.
It is. You guys are amazing me over and over and over again. I mean, the way that your channels are growing, the way that the message is getting out there, and the Flat Earth Conference as well. I have to admit, when Jaron first told me about it, I don't remember if it was you or Jaron who said something. I thought, this is going to be very difficult for them. It's going to be hard to get people to go out to, I think it's Raleigh, North Carolina, and I just don't see very many tickets selling. And you guys sold out in like the first 30 days.
Yeah. Well, the VIP tickets sold out in a week. And then the other stuff started selling fairly quickly. And they capped it a little lower than I had really wanted for the first year. But that's fine. It's organized discretion because it's not me that was organizing it. And but again, I've got people emailing me now every couple days saying, hey, how can I get tickets? Hey, there's probably going to be flat earth scalpers out there. I almost guarantee it. People selling it on eBay and stuff. Got your tickets, flat earth, got VIP, I got front row. It's gonna be a circus. I guarantee it. There's so many people that are asking for press passes. They're gonna try to put a cap on the press passes. But yeah, for those of you who don't know what's happening in Raleigh, North Carolina, November 9th and 10th, the first Flat Earth International Conference in the United States ever in the history of the United States. Is going to happen in one of the few ever in the world, and it's going to be fantastic. In fact, there's a lot of people from this network which are going to be talking at it.
Right. I think it's you, Jaron, Rob Skiba.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good. And I'm thrilled to be a part of it. He asked me, the guy that was organizing this thing asked me right away, and I said, so I'm going to do the keynote speech right after lunch on the first day, and then I'm hosting the video awards show, co-hosting it with Patricia Steer it's the last event of the whole thing.
Nice. That's going to be awesome. I wish we would have gotten tickets.
If you still want to go, let me know, and I will do what I can.
Okay.
Seriously. Shoot me an email and I'll put in a good word for you. A lot of people are just going to show up anyway because it's in the middle of the East Coast. North Carolina's kind of in the middle of the seaboard, so there's a lot of people going anyway just to be around others without kind of like the newspaper said, without fear of persecution.
Well, that's That's incredible. And you've done Clyde Lewis's show, George Norrie, all of the top shows out there. So what do you think is going on with this phenomenon? I mean, it's incredible. How is this blowing up so much?
It's weird. It happens in waves. Initially, we were just happy to get any media exposure, especially with the B.O.B. thing and Neil deGrasse Tyson coming out against B.O.B. And then the Kyrie Irving thing happened, which was, one of the NBA's top point guards and was the world champion at the time. They ended up going to the finals and losing to the Golden State Warriors. Whole nother story for another time. And he came out during a podcast on his way to the All-Star game and then was caught on camera talking to LeBron about it. And LeBron was perfectly fine with the whole idea. LeBron James is like, holy smokes, I use that clip in front of the things I do now where LeBron's asking Kyrie Irving if the Earth's flat. And I mean, you couldn't pay LeBron enough money to say those words, and he did it for free for us. And then that kind of settled down a little bit. And then recently, I mean, very, very recently, we started all of a sudden we think 3 different waves happened. The first was the meetup or the hangout waves where people were using Google Hangouts. So if you go into YouTube right now and type in Flat Earth and just click on live, there's at least 7 or 8 hangouts happening simultaneously all the time. Just all the time. They're running where people can go in. I mean, there's some 24/7 channels. One secular, one Christian so far that are 24/7. One that has my name on it, but it's not me. It's some a guy in Colorado who's doing it for me. But I said, yeah, sure, fine. And then after that wave started picking up, then the meetups started happening. So Denver, Fort Collins, Colorado, Jacksonville, Florida, Phoenix, Houston, Niagara Falls, Canada. And then there was a guy named Flat Earth Asshole, otherwise known as Jake Gibson. He just got in a car and started using social media to drive around the country and start doing his own meetups. He's like, tomorrow night I'm going to be in Toledo, Ohio. Let's see how many people we can get at such and such restaurant or bar. And sure enough, he'd get 20 to 30 people every time he'd show up at a place.
Wow.
Which was fantastic. Then we ran into, and I'm covering a lot of ground here pretty quick so you can ask questions. The billboards. The billboards started. We put up the first digital billboard in Philadelphia outside the airport, which just had 3 words, very similar to the ones they used in the Roddy Piper movie They Live from 1986, where it just says "Research Flat Earth," which was really, really cool. And then another one went up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They're working on one in Colorado, and DITRH is also working on one for the North Carolina conference, to where we have one. You can see it on the way to the conference. Let's see. And then, if that wasn't enough, we also dug into, the Denver Post thing happened, but just before that happened, we had, have you ever heard of Vice Media? They covered one of our guys out in London. His name was Nathan Oakley. And that was a fantastic thing. And then another pretty big channel has like 3 million subscribers on YouTube. They did a story with 2 other guys. All these things happened like simultaneously. Nathan and ODD and the Denver Post thing, like they all came out at the same time, which was absolutely fantastic. And then while all these things were happening, a documentary, the first of, there's been like 3 or 4 now that have contacted us. In fact, I know that Rob's building his own little film documentary on this whole thing because he's doing the weather balloon stuff. But that's a Christian-based one, where a documentary team out of LA, they spent the weekend up here in Seattle with me, filming me, and then went down to Houston and did Patricia Steer down there. And they're going around the country trying to get ready for the conference. And then they're going to shoot the whole conference and, I don't know, maybe pitch it to Sundance.
Well, I'm looking here, people.com, metro.co.uk, cosmopolitan.com. The list goes on and on. Huffington Post. They're all covering Flat Earth in one context or another. I mean, some of them aren't as nice as the Denver article, for example, but the fact is that the word is getting out there. And what they don't realize, or maybe they do realize, I really don't know, but you click on an article like this, you could be a naysayer, but you see Flat Earth enough that you're going to start clicking on it and find out what are all these crazy people actually talking about, which is exactly what happened to me. I saw Flat Earth coming through my Facebook timeline, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to go look at this because this is like the 17th time that I've seen this on my Facebook. What kind of ridiculousness is this? And I clicked on Flat Earth Clues.
Yeah, the 2 things that really helped us with YouTube were kind of big YouTube changes, which were one, the recommended to, for you on the right hand column, and didn't for apparently. In fact, there was a funny video a guy made where he wasn't even looking for anything conspiracy, and it just kept showing up. And he made a video asking people how to keep it from showing up and recommend. It's going, how can I get rid of this? He goes, I go, is there a button I can choose to say don't recommend this to me? Don't recommend this to me, and it just kept happening. And the other thing was that the autoplay feature. So, which is very convenient. You click on a video, and then if you're washing the dishes or doing laundry or whatever, it'll just cycle into a video that YouTube picks for you. And for some inexplicable reason, YouTube kept picking flat Earth videos, and still does even now. So you're watching a video on, I don't know, 9/11 or JFK or something, and then all of a sudden it'll go into flat Earth. And people, it's weird because people all say the same thing. It's like, yeah, I was doing whatever I was doing, working on my car, and I'm into it like 15 minutes. I was going, wait, what are they talking about? And it's crazy, but YouTube has really, really helped us. That, and of course the search engines, where you can go into any search engine right now and type in, excuse me, the Earth is, and it should show up flat most of the time, which is or something as innocuous as is the. Just type in is the and see what happens in the search engines, depending on where you go.
I typed in the Earth, and the first result is the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
The Earth is flat, the Earth, and then the Earth is flat proof, and then the Earth is flat Bible.
Think of the metrics it takes. That's just a side effect of the community right now. We didn't even try to do that. And that happened. Sorry, motorcycle. That happened because the community is so ravenous. We just keep typing it in all the time into different things. I type in flat Earth into YouTube probably several hundred times a day, just because that's what I'm searching for. But think of the internet marketing companies out there and how much they charge. Like if you want to have your potato chip, show up on the top of your search engine. The best potato chip is think of how much money you have to spend to get your potato chip up there. And we're doing this with something that's way, way bigger. And it's fantastic. It's humbling, but yet I'm on for the ride along with everybody else in the community.
Oh, that is true. I mean, you guys have just kind of taken over. Yeah. And when you type in the Earth into Google and the first recommendation is flat, then that's incredible. So you do the radio show, you do the Flat Earth meetups, you do, I'm sure, YouTube stuff, stuff. I don't know if you're still doing stuff with Patricia or not, but are there any new clues coming up? Because people have been waiting and waiting and waiting.
Well, yes and no. I mean, some people have been waiting, but what happened was there's so many. Remember, I'm the father of flat Earth.
Yes.
Yes.
We got to get you a ring. We got to get you a ring with a little azimuthal equidistant map. Yeah.
Goal, apparently. No. Yeah, Matt Boylan's gonna freaking lose it when he finally reads it.
We can get him a pimp cane with it on the
and a big white
Yeah.
hat and what was that Donny Osmond thing? Technicolor Dreamcoat. That whole musical. I'll just get the outfit from Technicolor Dreamcoat. No. As far as the clues go, I've been trying to do a lot of different things, but people have been asking me to do not just that, but a whole bunch of other stuff. As far as the clues go, it's pretty low on the list that people have. Most of the time, it's like, okay, hey, can you promote my meetup that's happening? Hey, have you seen this video? Can you mirror this video? Hey, have you seen what other people this work? I mean, I get recommended videos all the time. And it's like, okay, I got to watch this. And it's like, sometimes I'll mirror it. Most of the time I won't, because the channel's it's already out there. But it's amazing the amount of content now, and I'm jealous, to be honest. Where if you're coming into the community now for the first time, I love watching first timers come in there, because in fact there was this thing that we did. Oh geez, was it 6 weeks ago? Chat raids. Do you hear about that?
I didn't. No.
God. So apparently one of the I call him one of the field commanders in the flat Earth. So we were doing these hangouts, and these hangouts, sometimes you get like 300, 400. Globebusters sometimes get 1,400 people in a hangout, which is pretty good for a flat Earth hangout. But you said, let's say at 300-400 people, what they would do if somebody came up with the idea, it's like, hey, let's just go into somebody's Hangout that has, I don't know, 1 million subscribers and just start putting in flat Earth memes or, messages in the chat rooms as fast as we can, basically take over the chat. And in doing so, what was happening was people were all of a sudden looking at it. And it was weird. This one guy I remember very, very vividly. He was doing like a video, because lots of people will do YouTube channels where they're just recording themselves playing video games, which is cool. It's not what I'm into, but it's cool. And he thought that it was all just a couple trolls, like 5 or 10 people that were using multiple accounts. So he backpedals to the actual Hangout that everyone was in. He sees like 500 people in there, and you could see the wheels grinding. He's going, wait, there's not actually 500 people in that Flat Earth Hangout. Wait, that's not actually happening, is it? It was blowing him away because he had no idea it was a thing. And that's so when he went and all of a sudden then he typed in, if you're against your first time, you type in Flat Earth into YouTube and you look at the wall of content that's in there now, you're never going to get through it. I mean, there's just too much content out there. It's mind-boggling, the numbers. I'm a big statistics nut. Let me throw out a couple for you real quick, which is, if you go into YouTube and you type in Flat Earth, and you just have to sort by upload date now because YouTube changed the algorithms, I don't know, about 6 months ago to where they kind of did a stat squish. But sorting by upload date still shows the real numbers. We're coming in now. Okay, so remember way back in 2015, back in the old days.
Back in the old days.
Back then, you type in Flat Earth, and maybe you got 50,000 search results. You type it in now, sort by upload date. This morning comes in about 17.8 million. That's
17.8 million.
Yeah, and you're thinking, okay, what does that mean in comparison to what? I'll go, okay, sort upload date by Lady Gaga. She comes in at 16. Sort Donald Trump. He comes in at 19. Sort everything the Beatles ever did. I think it comes in at 10 or 12, maybe. NASA comes in at 8. These, and you're thinking, okay, what the point I'm getting is, we're the only, the Sesame Street analogy is like, which of these things doesn't belong here? Every other name that I mentioned has a massive marketing machine behind it. One of them is a government institution, for God's sakes. And we're beating them all, except for the top 10 music artists currently running. We're not beating Katy Perry or Taylor Swift. She's so talented. The rest of them, we're stomping into the ground, and we're doing it with no marketing dollars. So, which is why the producers are, I know I'm rambling, but this is why the producers have been sniffing around and have been for a while. You guys probably remember and I can say this on air now, the first producer that was sniffing around in the summer of 2015. She was working for True TV out in New York, and she pitched them. They canned her.
I remember that. I remember her writing me an email and saying, "Yeah, it's not going to move forward. I'm moving on to bigger and better things." Yeah, and I was like, "Wow, that's weird. That was sudden."
She absolutely was ahead of the curve. No play on words there. She was, though. She absolutely had it. We talked recently, and she goes, "Oh yeah, she's trying to work up another project. She's going to absolutely be at the conference." But back then in the 2015, the only people that even covered it, even in jest, I think, was Forbes magazine, and that was just taking a shot at Kent Hovind, because when Kent Hovind got out of jail, one of the first things was some of his subscribers are going, "What's your opinion on Flat Earth? What's your opinion on Flat Earth?" And he did the whole Han Solo Luke Skywalker thing from Return of the Jedi. It's like, what? I'm gone for a while and everybody has delusions of grandeur. Luke's a Jedi? And that's what he was going. He's going, "What do you mean the Earth's flat?" No, it's not. It was absolutely hilarious. But now people are talking about it. I mean, God bless the Denver Post for putting that on the front page. The comment section is brutal, but they put it out there. Why not? There was something, again, going off a little tear here. I did an interview when I was up in Canada. I spent a year in Canada. You guys probably, you guys knew part of that.
Yeah.
So I was interviewed by one of Eminem's radio stations. He owns radio stations, podcasts, stuff like that. And one of those guys interviewed me. It wasn't Eminem, of course. And he opened up the phone lines because apparently it wasn't even a call. It wasn't even supposed to be a call-in show. And we're talking about this stuff, and it was a short interview. It was only like 30 minutes. That was all we were scheduled for. 10 minutes in, the phone lines are just blowing up. He's going, you know what? Because how do you feel about taking calls? Because I've never seen the switchboard do this. I go, okay, sure, why not? And the calls that were coming in were some of the weren't the most horrible comments in the world, but they were definitely the knee-jerk responses, which was, what about this? What about gravity? Science, and pictures of the moon, and blah blah blah. And some of them were very, very angry. It was very urban, for lack of a better word. A lot of street people. The first time they've ever heard of it, probably calling from their convertible that was bouncing on the freeway. So yeah.
I was in my friend's plane the other day. And I was flying, and I was keeping the plane level with the horizon, because that's what you're supposed to do, is keep it level with the horizon. Right. And I was asking him, is the horizon moving? No, the plane's moving all over. You got to keep the plane steady with the horizon. I'm like, why isn't the horizon moving?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Our community has been, it's bolder than me. They are asking pilots, anyone that's flying. Well, I mean, there's people taking spirit levels on planes. Honestly, I'm waiting for some sort of homeland thing to get involved here. We're bringing electronic, little apps for the phones that are taken apart, trying to figure out if anything's moving, meaning again, for those of you who are new to this, if you're flying, because planes will usually, what the flat Earth community knows is they just go straight up, they level off completely, and then they never vary from that. They just fly perfectly flat until they're almost there, and then nose down and then hits the runway. But mainstream science say, well, no, the plane automatically adjusts. And
no, that's a bunch of BS.
It is.
I was just flying a plane just a couple of weeks ago. It's a bunch of BS.
Oh. I had a 777 pilot send me I think I did on Strange World, where he sent me a anonymous whatever it was, because he wanted to keep flying. Obviously, he wanted to keep his career, and he said, "Look, there's an adjuster. There's a piece of machinery underneath the gyro, which supposedly auto adjusts." And he goes, "It's really weird." He goes, "Before we're doing our pre-flight check, and the thing, it came up with an error. Basically, it broke, and whatever airport they were at, they did not have a replacement. Usually, they just swap them out. That's all they do with planes, is they swap out parts." And they didn't have one. And so they said, okay, here's the procedure. All you're going to do is run your gyro manually and then compensate for it. And he thought he'd be clever. So he started flying and started skipping some of the compensation points where you're supposed to dip down. And he goes, we flew for 6 hours and we never had to nose anything down. So, and then just out of curiosity, he calls up, because he saw that it was a subcontractor of Honeywell, I believe. And he calls up this company, and he wanted to know more about it. And he says, normally pilots are treated like absolute royalty when you call up plane companies like Boeing. You can do anything, you ask anything you want. Look, you're a pilot. It's your livelihood. And these guys were just stonewalling him every turn. They wouldn't return his calls. They wouldn't say anything about it. And the more he looked into it, the more suspicious it got, because the company that made those auto adjust things that apparently don't do anything for the bottom of those planes, they are a subcontractor of NASA. And they're the only company that makes it. All planes that use that particular gyro system, all your major airlines use that auto adjuster from one company.
Those sons of bitches.
I know, right?
I think I just channeled Jaron there for a second. No, there wasn't enough rage against NASA.
People, oh yeah, NASA's in real trouble. We've taken apart just about every video. You guys. What was the video? There's so much stuff has come out over the last 12 months. The people have been digging into like the old NASA archives, one from the 80s, as a matter of fact, from 1983. If you've ever watched any of those, they're horrendous. Where they were showing the guys in the cockpit, and you remember the Challenger picture? It's the Challenger disaster from 1986, and the photo that people have been circulating around where the astronauts, all are still alive, right?
Yeah.
And they're holding these helmets, and these helmets are just straight up motorcycle helmets. And I'm going, why in the world are these display helmets just for their photographs? So it's like, oh yeah, I'm an astronaut. I have these helmets because only astronauts wear these type of helmets. But I'm going, it's a motorcycle helmet. And I never thought anything of it again until I watched one of the 1983 videos. It's on my channel. And what happened was they're showing the pilots as they're going up and, the simulcast, the rockets going up. And I'm going, okay, one, they're wearing short sleeve shirts. I can see their forearms and fingers. I'm going, what happened to the gloves? Nobody using space gloves anymore. But then I looked at their helmets and it was the exact same helmets. Not only that, but they weren't connected to anything. So the space helmets, I could actually see their necks, like the skin of their necks. I'm going, why are you wearing a motorcycle helmet if it's not attached to anything? Are you going to be shook around? You're afraid to bump your head? Because literally the helmet was not designed. That helmet they had with them was not designed to attach to any spacesuit. It was absolutely mind-blowing. And then, of course, the space shuttle model, which they showed some guy walking behind it. They were showing the when they opened up the bay doors, back when this program was around, the bay doors of the space shuttle, you looked behind it and there was a guy. It's either that or there's giants walking around in space. This guy was behind the model and he gets out of camera real quick, but he was in frame for like 5 seconds. It was mind-blowing. It was great. Sorry.
No, I'm looking at this NASA document, NASA Technical Paper 2835. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with this one. User Manual for Interactive Linear and Fortran Program to Drive Linear Aircraft Models. And one of the key things on this, it says that these schematics were meant for a flat, non-rotating Earth assumption.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that document has been circulated. The rest of the document's pretty crappy. But again, the internet hive mind misses nothing. So when they saw that, what does it tell you? It's like, yeah, we don't have any. There's no determinable. And I didn't even put this in the clues. Remember in the clues, I never even touched the curvature in the clues. And people were saying, because I actually liked the Orlando Ferguson map, which had kind of a little curve. It definitely wasn't 8 inches per mile squared. But then people kept bugging me. It's like, dude, there's no curve. There's no curve. I was going, really? And the more and more stuff, people were filming stuff from the beach. Luckily, people can go to the beach now all day long, and you film boats. And yeah, in fact, now I had to revise my statement or question to mainstream science, because beforehand it's like, okay, how can you bring a boat back into frame when it's gone over the hill of the curve, it's gone over the other side. And now I have to come back and say, okay, show me an object, any object at a distance of, I don't know, 150 miles or less. It's a pretty safe one, because after that the atmosphere gets pretty thick. Show me an object at 150 miles less that you cannot see ever. Show me a lighthouse. Show me a building. Show me something that you can't. It's got to be some height to it, but it's not there. It's not there even close. In fact, somebody, I think it was Eric DeBay, found the website. There's photographers. They have competitions. There's actually like a long. Do I have that? A long distance website, for world records. Photographers try to outdo each other all the time, and they're not flat earthers. How far can you see with a camera? And they're shooting stuff upwards, peak to peak, upwards of 300 miles. And it's amazing the distances they can shoot on a clear day. It should not be there. Should not be possible.
Help clear this up for me. So when you're looking at the ship, when it disappears into the curvature, at least according to the official theory, how far is that from the shoreline, approximately?
If you're just using your eyes, it's 3 miles. That's
3 miles? So they're claiming that within 3 miles, there's a curvature that makes ships disappear.
Exactly. Good point.
That gets even more ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really, to use a computer version of it, it shrinks down. You think it's going over the curvature, but it's really just shrinking down to 1 pixel and then just blinking out. It just fades into nothingness. But yeah, 3 miles, that's the curvature of the Earth is 8 inches per mile square. That's 3 times 3 is 9 times 8 is 72 inches, 8 inches. So that's 6 feet. That's ridiculous, because there are ships that are way taller than 6 feet above the water that are disappearing. And again, with the naked eye. Now you can keep pulling them back. And oh yeah, in fact, I'm sorry, somebody just sent me a link while I was doing that. And the website is called beyondhorizons.eu for the world record holders of long distance photography. They're not flat earthers, but they probably will be soon. But yeah, and the P900, again, we should have stock in Nikon at this point, because they just keep selling out of this damn camera. It has an 83 power zoom on it, and then you can double that with some telescopic feature it's got. And you can see ships easily at 30 miles, and stuff, buildings at 50 and buildings at 60. And it's fantastic. I love the people that are going on the beach and doing these tests.
I'm looking at this website, beyondhorizons.eu, and just on the first page, you've got 302 kilometers. You've got 150 kilometers. I mean, these are 201 kilometers. These are pictures that should not be visible. Should not be possible, yeah.
No, it shouldn't, because it gets worse. What happens is, like, for example, real quick, like 50 miles is 50 times 50, which is 2,500 times 8. That's pushing 1,700 feet. And then it gets progressively worse after that. 1,700 feet's a lot. That's taller than the tallest building in the United States, and yet the entire Chicago skyline, perfectly visible. And we didn't even have to come, thank Rob Skiba for this one. We didn't have to come up with the explanation for that. There was the meteorologist that caught all that crap in Chicago. He found a university guy, and they described it as atmospheric lensing. It's like, fantastic, great. And, the atmosphere can actually create a magnifying effect, which makes the buildings bigger, but it chops off the top or the bottom of them and a little bit of the top of them. But it brings it into view. And they say, well, it's still part of a mirage. Like, no, not unless that mirage is consistent through every weather condition, through every light condition, through every distance, and through just about every object you can see. It's the same mirage and works exactly the same way. No, this thing's starting to break down, and we all can see it in the community. It's just a question of time now. The exposure is way too broad at this point to turn back. So
I agree. I mean, the genie's out of the bottle. There's no way to put the cat back in the bag. What were you going to say?
I heard a teacher the other day, and it was a teacher in Colorado, and she was saying, how do I get my kids in class to stop watching Jeranism and stop watching these flat earth videos? He calls himself Jeranism. I don't know who he is, but I don't think he has a degree, and I want my kids to stop talking about his videos in my class.
Send me a link to that. I will absolutely mirror whatever you're talking about there. And yeah, we have just, again, only this year, really dug into, not to say that you have to hook them young. The first one's free, baby. But that's the pimp daddy for you.
Yep.
But it's true. You have to, once it gets into the youth. I just put up a video on my channel. It was a 6-year-old girl did a flat Earth video. And it was shot by, I think, her 9-year-old brother. I don't think her parents had anything to do with it. Her 9-year-old was probably watching Jeranism, and it's like, here, get on camera, Susie. And she, read the lines, whatever. But she was perfect. And there's another kid, probably, I don't know, 12, and he's doing, he's wearing a 40s style, I don't know what they call those hats, detective type hat and a microphone, and he's doing a flat Earth video. He's going up to people in his neighborhood on the street, talking flat Earth. I think if it becomes like one of those cool things, let's face it, I mean, it is kind of the right now it's that conspiracy where, not to make it tie it to like drugs or anything, but it's like, oh, you're 9/11 JFK. No, I got some for you, man. Keep it on the down low, man. No,
you can't handle this.
Yeah, it's flat Earth. I'm warning you, man. Don't take too much of this stuff.
It sounds like the first time I smoked weed. I was like 14 years old, sitting in the McDonald's parking lot. A friend of mine who was older, 16 or 17, he whips out a bong and he goes, "You want to smoke some weed?" And I went, "Oh, I heard that stuff was bad for you." Same reaction.
Oh, yeah. People, and I warn people. In fact, I've been telling people now in different interviews, I say, look, if you like your life the way it is, if you like being, I'm not making fun of being asleep or anything like that. I say, you think you got a good bead on things and things are fine and you don't want anything to change, don't look at this. Because the second you do, you're going to be in real trouble. You're going to lose sleep, and then all of a sudden I'm going to get an email saying, "Thanks a lot, jackass. I didn't sleep for the last 2 weeks," and blah, blah, blah. And they're not hating the messenger or anything. They're just making a notation for me. But yeah, that's what it turns into. It's this weird journey, this tunnel type thing where people go into it at the other side. There's mixed reactions. Some feel claustrophobic, some burst into tears. Some are just elated with all sorts of different types of emotions, but it's been very, I shouldn't say overwhelmingly positive.
Well, that was my first reaction was, oh crap, I feel claustrophobic now. What is this? Where am I? And we spend so many nights drinking ayahuasca, sitting on the lake, looking up at the sky, going, it's a freaking dome. It's a dome. Look at this. It's crystal clear. It's a dome.
Yeah, it's so well, and I'm not going to steal from Bill Hicks here too much, but it is because now it's like, okay, people say, what is it? Where are we? I go, take your pick, man, because it seems to be a combination of a lot of things. Part terrarium, part planetarium, part wildlife preserve, part amusement park ride. There's so many different things you could put into it, but I think they all have the function. But I do like the ride part of it because it does seem that we're here to learn something, and at the end we'll move on like the other civilizations before us. And it's also not a one-off. I like to stress that to anybody. It's like, look, this place is not one of those. It's not one of those one and done throwaway type worlds where another civilization had to relocate so that we got in here, and apparently we're at that stage now where we're getting close to probably relocating ourselves. Let me throw one thing here real quick before you change to something else though, which is I thought of something recently, and you know who this is, Terence McKenna, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, Terence McKenna, I think is tied into this in some way because he was talking about the whole time wave zero thing. The guy that went to you probably know what he did out in the South American jungle. Did a lot of drugs in the jungle and came up with these fantastic mathematical formulas, including time wave zero. And in Time Wave Zero, he predicted that the world would. He was kind of going out on a limb where he said the world would possibly end in 2012 because he goes, look, novelty just tanks. There is no more novelty after 2012. For whatever reason, it just falls off the cliff and that's it. And I was thinking, 2012 came and went, but maybe it was literal. Maybe literally novelty as we know it, probably the most valued concept in the universe, at least outside this world, is we've jumped the shark. And if you guys aren't that old, but maybe you know what jump the shark means.
Oh yeah,
but the whole Happy Days
Fonz, yeah.
Which actually, it would have been way more interesting had he actually fallen into the tank instead of just jumping in. But that's darkness. So, but we as a civilization, I believe we've jumped the shark. We have gone. We've run out of new things. I mean, look. Do you think I'm kidding? Look at the movie list this year. It's all remakes and reboots. Television is all remakes, reboots. We haven't had a novel idea in media for years, and I think that is one of the triggers, one of the thresholds for the wind down. I don't like to be super dark and say that it's the end of civilization as you know it. Well, maybe not the end, but maybe moving, maybe a transition, because there's nothing left here. Look, we're just grinding gears. We got nothing left in the tank. And anyone think I'm exaggerating. Look at the fact that flat Earth is now being considered an entertainment concept in Hollywood should tell you that. There's so many television shows out there that are target demographics.
Did you see? I don't mean to interrupt, but did you see Gods of Egypt?
I did see Gods of Egypt. I did see that where they opened up, him flying over the flat Earth. I thought that was cool. Dragging the sun over a flat Earth. I thought that was awesome. Little movies and little things people have been mentioning. I mean, there's so many cool clips. Like I was watching a crime show, and I'm a big Carl Weathers fan. One, because he lives in Washington. Actually, he lives up here on Whidbey Island, and he was on a crime show, and he was talking to one of his people, and he's no, that's crazy. You know what they'll call you if you do that? They'll call us crazy. He goes, no, they'll call you a flat earther, and then it was written in later at literally like one of the last lines of the show. And yeah, writers, they're putting it in there. Art imitates life, and it's become part of the vernacular. I don't like the negative side of it where it's now become like the third level of crazy. So there's normal crazy town, there's really insane, and then there's flat Earth, with a big red sticker on the side of it, extreme, which is flat Earth. But that's fine. Again, it gets people thinking because they'll sooner or later, once the kids videos start kicking in, that's when I know for sure. Of course, I still think something else is going to happen before then, but we'll see how that goes.
It is. It's a really fascinating time we're living in. The way that I see it is the universe is a university, and we've come here to learn. And we break all of these different barriers. We break the political, we break the truth movement stuff. Like I went through the whole truther programming and then broke through that, went to the flat earth, et cetera, et cetera. And it's these different layers of awakening. And I think when we get to a certain point, then maybe it's time to break out of this actual construct. And that's what it's all about. And there's some people that just won't get it in this lifetime, and that's okay. And there's some people that won't even get the political paradigm in this lifetime, and that's okay. But it's an evolution that we go through. And I think that the people in the flat earth community are really the tip of the spear when it comes to the consciousness breaking through. I would say that the next level after that is the simulation, realizing that this is a simulation. And it's funny because I'll go to people and I'll say, what do you think about flat earth? Oh, that's ridiculous. What do you think about simulation? Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of scientific data to back that up. And I'm like, so wait a minute, hold on. So you're telling me the globe is real, but we live in a simulation. Do you see the the paradox there?
And that's because of the conditioning. The flat earth is the only conspiracy, if you call it a conspiracy, is the only concept we debunk to children. That's it. Whereas we tell them to embrace the technology, we tell them to embrace the video game type world. And look, as tools evolved, it kind of keeps up with what our current level of technology is. So beforehand, it's like, oh yeah, God had a hammer and a chisel, and then he had a power saw, and then it's like, look, God's a coder. He's a developer, plain and simple. It's not that hard to figure out now. If we're coding, he's coding, he or she or whatever. He's coding a lot better than we are in languages that are still mind-boggling to us.
Well, speaking of computer code, there was a guy named Professor Gates. I don't remember his first name, but he's a quantum physicist, and he claims to have found a computer code embedded within the fabric of reality, a self-correcting computer code. Now, it's not just any computer code. It's a computer code written by a guy named Claude Shannon in the 40s.
Why Claude Shannon?
That's his computer code. This is what he found. They found his computer code embedded in the fabric of reality.
All of it?
All of it.
All of it. It's in its entirety.
Yeah. Isn't that insane? That completely changes the dynamic if that's true. Now, he was on a panel and there were 3 or 4 naysayers and, you're misinterpreting the data, et cetera, et cetera. It gets even weirder. He made these things called adinkras. And adinkras are this computer code made of the fabric of reality put into a computer and spat out into a graphical interface. The graphical interface, when you look at an adinkra, it's like a very, very intense DMT trip. Like as soon as I saw it, I said, hey, that's hyperspace right there. That's exactly what we see when we go into these deeper states of DMT. And so that started to really paint a different picture for me. Like, wait a minute, if this is a simulation, maybe the ayahuasca and the shaman have been seeing the computer code from the very beginning. They're able to manipulate the computer code, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact that they found a computer code written in the 40s is chilling. It's something to look into.
Why not? And I hadn't really thought about this until now. I mean, if linear time is really just an illusion, then why couldn't you borrow from different eras and modify it? Let's say you did run into, I won't call him an idiot savant. Let's just call him way ahead of his time, whoever he was. Let's say you found some of his code. It's like, you know what? That's pretty good. Whoever built this place. I'm not saying, that God didn't have a hand in it, of course, but maybe an advanced civilization borrows from it was something I've been talking about for a while anyway, which is every civilization that lives on the surface seems to be allowed to progress naturally, to create, again, not only their own novelty, but their own problem-solving abilities and their own, even development's a form of art. So why not use it? Look at what makes us different from the other civilizations before us. That's really good. I like that.
Could you imagine if God is like a 6-year-old kid with a Minecraft server? And that's what all this is. It's just a
Minecraft.
Or some really sick person that, used to play The Sims and then like left it running and totally forgot about it.
Oh, I've thought of that as well.
Yeah.
Where the automated, yeah. Well, if you've played The Sims before, well, not just The Sims, but the old Sim Cities.
Mm-hmm.
If you leave it all on overnight, you come back, it's like, what the heck happened here?
Mm-hmm.
And then you spend the time. Yeah, there's definitely automated parts to this system, no question. And in fact, I'm trying to figure out the little subtle nuances, like the greatest UFO sighting of all time, the 1561 Nuremberg event, where it took the one they talked about on Ancient Aliens, but they always leave out the last part, which was the two factions are battling for an hour, and then a giant single black angular ship showed up. So my question is, what took those guys so long to get there? As far as response time goes, that's not real good. You could shoot a gun outside the window here, and you'll have a cop in 5 minutes. You start doing a battle with an armada outside a city, and it takes a full hour to show up. Ugh, I don't know what's going on there, but it doesn't sound like it's. I mean, yeah, it might be efficient, but there's something missing. There seems to be a hierarchy breakdown.
I spoke to Michael Tellinger, the Ancient Alien guy,
Right.
and he told me something off air that he said on a show, so I can repeat it because he said it on a show, but not on our show. I tried to get him on to talk about this, but he's totally on board with the flat Earth stuff. And I said, well, how does this play into all the ancient alien stuff? And he goes, oh, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense that they would come from a lot closer than from coming from, billions of light years away, et cetera, et cetera. He goes, it ties all of it in together. And I said, well, come on and let's talk about it. No, I don't want to talk about it right now.
Not yet.
Even though he mentioned it on one show, which was really cool. But even the ancient alien guys are getting on board and saying, hey, you know what? This makes a lot more sense than the theories we've been presented before.
Sure. Well, I still, because I'm a little hard on science sometimes, I still find it amazing that science can use things like the double slit experiment and just claim it for science. That's basically, science is basically magic without mystery. It's like, okay, we can repeat it enough times, and the average person can repeat it with the same sort of equipment. It's not magic anymore. It's science. And you look at the double slit experiment, where things change depending on if they're observed or not, and they're claiming this for science. Like, well, it's repeatable. I'm going, yeah, but you have no idea what's going on. Just because it's repeatable doesn't mean it's in your realm now. It's in your ballpark. And how can a true scientist even sleep at night knowing the double slit experiment even exists? But
right.
That's just me.
Well, I mean, even the definition of science is to question, re-question, re-theorize, re-experiment, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes to this particular topic, science turns into a dogma at that point. Right.
Right. And again, I'm not knocking science. Look, they've made some wonderful things over the years. Air conditioning, light bulbs, the telephone. Hey, all great things. Thumbs up. But there's a lot. Don't use that Neil deGrasse Tyson line where, again, one of the most arrogant things I've ever heard, other than Kanye saying that he wished he could watch himself live, which is.
Did he really say that?
Oh yeah, that is. Look him up. When you look up Kanye, his only regret in life is that he will never be able to watch himself live in concert. I'm going, dude,
wow.
You are just a whole nother level of ego. I mean, that's monstrous.
His ego is huge.
Yeah, but Neil deGrasse Tyson, actually not that much different. Where he's going, science is right whether you believe in it or not. And it's like, ooh, I don't know if I'd make a statement like that. Basically, there's things that there's science are actual fact, absolutely factual, and they can't be disputed. Which is why the flat Earth thing drives him nuts. It's like, no, we've already proven it. It's a globe. And it's like, have you? Have you really? Because for me, again, it comes down to the institution. Let me boil this down for people real quick. It's what we're saying here is that the institution became so large, the globe institution, 20 plus generations, at least. Some people argue it's like, oh no, it's BC. It's like, I don't care. Let's start from Copernicus. That seems like a pretty good starting point. Then you got at least 500 years, 450 years until NASA is formed. 450 years, 20 generations, and you're telling people it's a globe, it's a globe, it's a globe, it's a globe. It's like, yeah, but you haven't gotten them high enough to prove it. So how do you know it's a globe? Well, it's a globe. And since you have so many generations pass, it's that Lord of the Rings line. It becomes myth to legend only in reverse order, where it becomes absolute fact. Because there's no one even remotely close to being alive that ever disputed it. They're long gone. So it comes into, well, it's like, okay, fine. You send up your first rocket and you notice it's not a globe. Would the institution of science break it to people And it's amazing some of the responses I get. Some people will say, well, yeah, of course. I'm going, really? Think about it again. Think about it real hard. Your institution, you're going to damage it if you tell people this, that it's not a globe. And it's incredible it's a corporation like anything else.
Mark, let me jump in because we only have 3 minutes left. I want to ask two more questions. Sorry. First of all, ODD came out with a video. Neil Tyson exposed as an actor, shows his bio as an actor. Yeah. That's creepy because it doesn't say anything about him being an astrophysicist or anything like that. It just says actor, bio, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Look at the movies he's done. Look at his movie credits he's done over the last 3 years. It's incredible. There are actual actors in Hollywood that would kill for Neil deGrasse Tyson's movie credits. So yeah, he doesn't debate anybody. Yes, he finally, it took him a while to get his PhD, but he doesn't debate. He's literally a mouthpiece. He's just a cross between Bill Cosby and Sinbad. He's a guy with a microphone. That's it.
Second question, and we only have 2 minutes. Okay. Where is this going? Where's this flat earth thing going to end up? Is science eventually going to say, hey, you know what? We were wrong. Can we shift it like that?
Okay, I'll give you the half full and half empty one. The half full says, yes, it'll be a golden age. And all of a sudden someone will come out and say, oh, it's wonderful. And I know there'll be a class action lawsuit against NASA and all their subcontractors, which will probably be too big to fail and maybe crush the world economy. But we'll do that. Or they'll go the other way, which is you're not going to – this is – and you guys have heard me say this before. This is the left jab before the big right hook. It is the frame to where something is waiting to be painted inside of it. Flat Earth is still just a giant open-minded thought experiment, and what's coming after that is going to make it look small potatoes. But it's linked. It has to be there. Flat Earth has to be there to get people in that state to where they're open to just about anything. It's the ultimate open-minded test. What's coming after that, I think it's going to be some sort of celestial event, some sort of giant. It's going to be so big that everyone will be distracted by it. Call it a war if it's a bad thing. Call it a giant golden spaceship that lands somewhere and then is broadcast worldwide on social media.
I was thinking alien invasion. What's coming up on Strange World?
Strange World this week, I don't know yet because I've got to take a family member to a hospital appointment this week. But after that, I'm going to try to get on more of the subject matter experts that I had in the past, just to remind people, because it's been a while since we talked to subject matter experts. And I know they're already on YouTube, they're already on this network, but I want to remind people, it's like, look, we've got people who have already talked about this, real solid, credible people.
Excellent. Mark, thank you for everything you're doing. You're really, shifting the paradigm, and you're really shifting the consciousness of humanity. So, that took a lot of bravery. It took a lot of balls to be the first one to step up and do this. And as a result, this has just spread so amazingly that it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal to be on the sidelines watching this unfold.
Well, thanks. By the way, enclosedworld.com, and check out the book, Flat Earth Clues.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Thanks.
Later. Guys. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in this evening. Stay tuned. Coming up next is Paranormal Portal with our dear friend Brent Thomas. And it was so great to have Mark on again. We need to get him on more often. We need to have more TFR hosts on more often. Cherie said, why don't we have the hosts on? I said, I don't know. Why don't we have the hosts on? And so, hopefully this will be the first in a series that we'll do with all of our dear friends here at TFR. And once again, we are changing the domain. Starting in a couple of days, tfrlive.com is the domain. TrueFrequencyRadio.com will be forwarding over to tfrlive.com, so nothing's really going to change on your end. But if you're typing in tfrlive.com now, it forwards to True Frequency Radio. I just figured it's easier for the iPads and mobile users out there to type that in. And remember, wherever you are, make it TFR. Your protection from deception. Kiss the one you love right now. You never know when the last time it's going to be. And don't forget, keep your thumb to the sky. Always bring your towel. And we'll see you next weekend right here on Beyond the Veil.
Love you guys. We will see you next week.
Thank you for traveling with us this evening. Meditate on your experience. And remember, reality is merely an illusion. Thus, we wish you pleasant dreams. www.beyondtheveilradio.com